Well, good afternoon. It's February 6th now. That was a hell of a ball game last night. One of the finest I've ever seen played. I wanted to make some commentary on your Module 2 work. The subject, of course, was employment law, human resources management, and how the law applies to that. Um, some general progress notes. You're really doing well. I'm very much impressed with your work and with the effort that you're putting into this. Some of you have contacted me, typically by email, which is fine. Feel free to contact me anytime about any question you might have, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. As you noticed from your colleagues' posts, the topics were varied, which is by design, in that you get to pick a topic of your choice that interests you and comment on it, and we get a pretty wide variety that way. Some of the topics were agency and employment law, sport agents and sport advisors, the statutory requirements for sport agents, some of the complexities of employment law, the Fair Labor Standards Act, minimum wage, overtime. That stuff will drive you crazy, I guarantee that. Concepts of negligent hiring. Coaches' pay came up, employee compensation when your employee is a coach. A very hot topic today for both male and female coaches, male and female teams. The National Labor Relations Act, labor law, unions were a topic that interested some of you. Contract drafting, contract formation, minors making contracts, which reminds me, more than one of you commented on AAU and other organizations poaching, recruiting, stealing players from other teams and getting verbal commitments from high schoolers and eighth graders, that sort of thing. Remember, minors cannot make enforceable contracts. And so while verbal contracts, oral contracts can be enforceable, any contract, written or verbal, made by a minor is simply not enforceable. And so, other than shame, which is itself illegal because it's a form of coercion and a lack of free will in contracting, uh, if you get a verbal commitment from a high schooler to play for your team, that's not enforceable at all, except by means of shame, like I say, which itself is illegal. Some of the takeaways from from my observations of your commentary. First of all, and I think we've said this before, uh, employee uh, costs are probably the significant cost in your enterprise. And if you can't keep those costs under control, all the bad things that can happen when a company or an enterprise cannot keep its costs under control will happen to you. It's, as I say, it's a complicated world, and when you can ever get help from experienced HR people or from a lawyer, that is advisable. So always go to that resource uh, when you can. Another point I think we made earlier, your employees are your enterprise's face to the public. That has its downside. One of you commented on, as an employee, you faced harassment from customers, and you were stuck with that notion that the customer is always right, the customer can do no wrong, and you just had to take it. Well, that's life. It's a big step when an enterprise bans customers or refuses to serve customers. That's a big deal, and that can have a definite downside to your company or to your enterprise. Um, College coaches' salaries, as I mentioned, came up several times, and we've talked about this before. Something's got to soak up all that money these days, and coaches' salaries are certainly part of that process. Also, lack of medical insurance for college and high school athletes. Those two factors, coaches' salaries and lack of medical care, medical coverage for student athletes, are going to be the holes that the O'Bannon case will allow uh, future athletes to kind of punch through to get some kind of status, maybe employment status, maybe some other kind of status that will allow them to get uh, compensation and or insurance for their efforts. Um, One comment more generally about the law in the employment area, especially. The law requires equal opportunity, not equal outcome. That means that in our system, under our Constitution, under our system of laws, everybody gets a fair shot. Everybody gets an equal opportunity. That is our goal. Sometimes achieved, sometimes not, but that is the goal of the law. After an equal start, life happens. Luck happens. Good luck, bad luck, good choices, bad choices. Those things happen. But the equality of outcome is not something that the law guarantees. That's for another type of philosophy, but it's not the current state of the law. Um, in that regard, social justice was mentioned in your comments, and I just want to say that when you get out more into the real world, you're grad students now. You're past a lot of undergraduate stuff, but when you get out into the working world, you will find that many people think that the idea of social justice revolves more around some form of redistribution than equality. Um, and typically that means redistribution from those who have to those who have not, from those who have earned, from those to those who have not earned. That brings up a whole new set of philosophical and governance questions in our society. But in the working world, be wary of the use of the term social justice, because that's a big buzzword on campus these days. But out in the working world, it has a different kind of a meaning. So beware of that. Okay, those are the comments that I wanted to make. You're doing really well. I'm very impressed with the work that you're doing and the way you're doing it. So on to Module 3 and its tasks. I know you're up to them, so I'll see you next time.